Representative Darrell Issa got a little carried away in his anger over Obama attempting to close Guantanamo again. Let's listen.
There is little we can do if this president ignores the law in a timely fashion. Our process is to go to the court. The court is likely not to rule quickly. And just as when, and it's an old example, but Andy Jackson, the founder of the Democratic Party, if you will, in the Trail of Tears, defied the Supreme Court and marched Native Americans to their death. The fact is, it is very hard to stop a president from doing something if he's willing to ignore the law and his oath.
You know, what about the importance of the naval base? Do you see any dynamic changing with whether or not we continue to be there at all after these discussions with Cuba?
Well, we have a lease in perpetuity, and for the president to void a lease may be a little bit more complicated than just saying so. The fact is that if Congress determines that the lease is not authorized to be voided, it is a lease in perpetuity. He may order the military to leave. I have to be quite candid. It is the decision that U.S. military leaders have to make. Are they going to obey an unlawful order to move people from Guantanamo, an unlawful order to close the base? So these are decisions for the U.S. military. And earlier I mentioned Andy Jackson. Remember, the Trail of Tears was only possible, the murder of those Native Americans was only possible because, in fact, the military obeyed an order in violation of the U.S. Supreme Court. So do I believe that the military may push back on the president if he's giving him an unlawful order? Actually, I do. I can see flag officers resigning rather than obeying a clearly unlawful order.
This idiot believes that closing Guantanamo Bay is like the Trail of Tears, which, of course, was part of the Native American genocide. There are no words for how stupid that is. If anything, it's the exact opposite. Opening Guantanamo in the first place was much more like the Trail of Tears. He's like, you know, they're going to have to decide if they want to carry out an unlawful order. If Obama says we're going to shut it down no matter what here, they're going to have to make that decision, people in the military. No, more like when Bush and Cheney in the first place said, hey, let's open up an extrajudicial prison for indefinite detention. Let's open that up. They had that decision to make then. Hey, do we go ahead and carry this out when this is wildly unconstitutional and against international law and the Geneva Conventions and the fucking Magna Carta? That's when they had the decision. But these guys, they always flip history directly on its head. It's unbelievable. You know what this actually reminds me of? I know it's a weird thing to bring up in parallel to this story, but it reminds me of when Rick Santorum and those, insane people bring up that they think Kim Davis is like Martin Luther King Jr. Multiple people have made that point. Or like, hey, she's like Rosa Parks. Why? Because she said, I am going to defy the Supreme Court and not hand out gay marriage licenses. No, they don't get it. Bitch, you're not Rosa Parks. You're the bus driver who said, get to the fucking back of the bus right now. You're not like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You're Bull Connor. Bull Connor was against equality. He was for segregation. Well, you're not for equality. You're in favor of keeping gays as second-class citizens saying you can't get married. So they flip history on its head. Our people are like MLK. Our people are like Rosa Parks. No, you were on the wrong side, and you're on the wrong side now. With this, like, if you close Gitmo, that'll be like the Trail of Tears. No, opening in the first place was like the Trail of Tears, especially because we are a country that prides ourselves on due process, prides ourselves on habeas corpus, prides ourselves, or at least say we care about rule of law and, international law and doing the right thing in that respect. But this is a clear violation of it. And remember, like I keep bringing up to you guys, because it's important to keep bringing up, it's not like everybody at Gitmo is guilty. They're not. We told you how we get the people there. We made deals with Afghan warlords, and they sent over whoever the fuck they wanted just to get the money in response and the weapons and the deals. So then we locked them up and kept them with no trial. This is why you need a trial. This is why you need due process, not for shits and giggles, to try to figure out if these really are bad guys or not. Like, if you abandon your values when the going gets tough, you don't really fucking believe in them now, do you? So that's the point, and people like Representative Darrell Issa have totally missed it, man. Their minds have been flipped upside down. somehow they think the more moral thing to do is to keep Guantanamo open. Please, on what fucking planet is that the case? The exact opposite of what he says is true. It's more like the Trail of Tears when we did Gitmo in the first place. Probably the #1 jihadist recruitment tool that there is Gitmo.